Hello everyone, welcome back to Psychology with Dipali, the best destination for content in psychology.
Today, we will be continuing with theories of intelligence. We will be doing two theories of intelligence. So, whatever we are covering today is the theories within the information processing approach, which are the Robert Sternberg's theory of intelligence, which is the Triarchic theory of intelligence, and the past model of intelligence. So, to start with the interesting question of the day, uh, this person has received the Order of Canada for his internationally recognized work in the field of cognitive psychology. He has also been honored with multiple awards for the impact he has had on the field of intelligence research. So, who is this person? We shall know as we go along. So, to do the first theory, it is known as Sternberg's triarchic theory. Sternberg saw intelligence as the ability to adapt, to shape, and select the environment to accomplish one's goals and those of one's society and culture. So, the objective of using one's intelligence is not just to accomplish one's own goals, but also to fulfill the goals of the society and culture of which we are an integral part of. Now, he views intelligence as comprised of three sub theories, which are contextual, experiential, and componential. And each of these sub theory corresponds to one of the three types of intelligence. So, the three types of intelligence that Sternberg talked about are contextual, which is also called practical intelligence, which involves adapting to, shaping, and selecting environments to accomplish one's goals and those of one's society and culture. Experiential intelligence, which is also creative intelligence, which uses the past experiences to deal with new situations and solve the problems creatively. Then we have componential or analytical intelligence, which is the mental processes which is used to plan, monitor, and evaluate problem solving strategies. So we shall do each one of them in detail. The contextual subtheory or the contextual intelligence corresponds to practical intelligence. So it is the ability to successfully function in one's environment and then deal with these environmental demands that we encounter on a daily basis. So whenever we are using our intelligence in a particular way where we are responding to the demands which are made upon us by the environment in which we find ourselves in, then we are using our contextual or practical intelligence. So such people can be called as street smart or having a very good business sense because wherever they are, they can easily adapt to the environment. Not only can they adapt to their present environment, they can even select a more favorable environment than the existing one. If they find that their goals are not being met or satisfied by the present environment in which they are able to select a more favorable environment or even modify their pre-existing environment to a more favorable one so that it can help them to fit their needs. These individuals therefore not only are street smart, they turn out to be very successful in life because they're literally using their intelligence on the go. The second type of intelligence is the creative intelligence or the experiential intelligence. Here, the person uses his or her past experiences creatively to deal with novel situations or issues. So, which means whatever I know of, I can use it even in the future to deal with certain problems or to deal with certain situations which are new for me and which I have never dealt with before. So, therefore, the emphasis is on insight and the ability to formulate new ideas. Whoever are high on this particular dimension, they can integrate different kinds of experiences in an original way. That means they can create something which is new. So, a person like this who's high on creative intelligence is likely to make new discoveries or create something new, make new inventions, and they are able to find out very quickly which information is crucial in a particular situation. And then they are able to combine very unrelated facts in a proper coordinated sequence and use that information to their benefit and create something new. Then we have the componential or the analytical intelligence, which is the ability to think critically and analytically and to solve problems. So all kinds of problem solving tasks which we are successful in are using this kind of analytical intelligence. People who are high on this dimension will excel on standardized tests of academic achievement. So they are very high achievers in the academic area and they make excellent students. Now, this analytical intelligence has three subcomponents. First, the knowledge acquisition component, which is responsible for learning and acquisition of the ways of doing things. So, whatever we know how to do, that means whatever intellectual abilities we already have, how we have used it or how are we incorporating it into our existing mental structures and how we are acquiring that knowledge is coming under knowledge acquisition component. Then we have the meta or higher order component. This involves planning concerning what to do, how to do. So, whatever information a person has, how is he going to use that information? How is he going to use it to solve, let's say, a particular problem that he has encountered and to create something new? So, all these kinds of things are coming under meta or higher order component. Then we have the performance component where actually the person does whatever he has planned to do. So the knowledge acquisition helps to gain the information where we have learned the various ways of doing things. Then we plan about it, which is the meta component, and then the performance component where we actually do the things which we have planned to do. So, according to Sternberg, the workings of the mind are connected to a series of components, and these components basically are the steps one goes through to solve a problem. Now, he distinguished between information processing components and meta components. So, meta components basically contain the various kinds of knowledge one has about how to solve a problem. So, it is the planning, a higher order component. And they are executive processes which we use not just in problem solving but also in making various decisions. We use it to plan and regulate our behavior. So it is similar to the kind of general intelligence which Spearman told about in his two-factor theory of intelligence. So the triarchic theory of intelligence therefore contains three main components, which is componential intelligence, experiential intelligence, and contextual intelligence, which have knowledge acquisition, meta component, and performance component under componential intelligence, creative problem solving, integration of experiences under experiential intelligence, and adaptation to environment and the modification of environment under contextual intelligence. Now, the answer to the question of the day is Jagannath Prasad Das or JP Das. Now, he was born in Odisha and he taught initially in universities in India before he went to Canada. He is an Indo Canadian educational psychologist who specialized in educational psychology, intelligence, and childhood development. Among his contributions to psychology are the PASS model of intelligence and the Das-Naglieri cognitive assessment system. He has an honorary doctorate degree from the University of Vigo in Spain. He has written more than 300 research papers and book chapters, as well as 10 books. He received the Order of Canada, which is a very prestigious award, on the 1st of July 2015 for his internationally recognized work in the field of cognitive psychology, notably in the development of a new theory of intelligence. He was appointed as the Emeritus Director of the Center for the Study of Mental Retardation at the University of Alberta in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. And he continues as their Emeritus Director and an Emeritus Professor, where he is still conducting research as well as writing books and articles. The center was renamed in his honor in 1997 and is now known as the J.P. Das Developmental Disabilities Center at the University of Alberta. So, a very distinguished psychologist who has Indian origins and who has achieved a lot of fame in the field of intellectual research. Now, the PASS model basically stands for planning, attention arousal, simultaneous and successive processing, and it was given by three individuals, J.P. Das, Jack Naglieri, and John Kirby in 1994. According to this model, the intellectual activity involves three kinds of interdependent, which are interdependent neurological systems, where they called it the functional units of the brain. So there are three interdependent functional units of the brain, which together constitute what is intelligence. And these units are responsible for attention, coding or processing, and planning, respectively. So, totally, there are four cognitive processing processes involved, and we shall see each one of them in detail. So, we have attention, which focuses on the arousal and attention which we give to process any information effectively. Simultaneous processing, which integrates concepts into meaningful patterns for comprehension. Successive processing, which recalls information serially, linking one memory to the next. And then planning, which involves thinking, implementing, and evaluating actions to achieve goals. So these four cognitive processes are interdependent functional units of the brain according to the past model, and all of these together constitute intelligence. So the first process which we will talk about is the attention process or arousal process. So arousal and attention enable a person to process information. An optimal level or the correct level of arousal is required for us to focus our attention on the relevant aspects of a problem. Too much arousal or too little arousal would interfere with the attention process. So, for example, when we are told by a teacher about a test which she plans to give us, then our arousal is going to make us attend to the specific chapters which will be the portion for the test, and arousal forces us to then focus our attention on reading those chapters, learning about the contents of the chapters, and then revising the contents of the chapters. Then we go to the two processing types of processing. Information, therefore, can be integrated into our knowledge either simultaneously or successively. So let's take simultaneous processing. Simultaneous processing, the word simultaneous itself tells us that it's happening at the same time. When we perceive relationships among various concepts and then we integrate all those relationships into a very meaningful pattern so that we can understand it better or comprehend it better, then we are indulging in simultaneous processing. So this is an example of a simultaneous processing task. This is a design which is a part of the Raven's progressive matrices test, which is an intelligence test. Now, here each of the items in the test contain a design from which a part has been removed. So as can be seen, there is a blank space in the design. And the person who is doing the test is required to choose one of the six options that best completes the design. Now, to do this particular kind of task, simultaneous processing is required where the person has to at the same time see the design and match it with the other options which are provided, and then to see which one would be the best fit for this particular question. So therefore, simultaneous processing helps us to grasp the meaning and the relationship between the given abstract figures as seen in this particular example. Then we have successive processing. This takes place where we remember all the information but in a serial order, one after the other. So the recall of one set of information leads to the recall of the next set of information. So examples of this kind of processing would be learning digits, learning alphabets, or learning multiplication tables, where one information is going to lead us to recall to the next set of information. Then we come to planning, which basically is an essential feature where after the information is attended to and processed, then planning is activated. So it allows us to think of the possible courses of action. Suppose we have already paid attention, we have already done the processing. Now we will plan what are we going to do with this information and how are we going to use it. So we implement a particular course of action and then evaluate how effective was it. Was the action effective in solving the problem or in achieving the target? If a plan does not work, then it is modified to suit the requirements of that particular situation. So therefore, an example of how this works would be a student who has to take a test scheduled by the teacher. So the student would have to therefore set goals and plan a time schedule of study. At the same time, the person has to also get clarifications in case certain problems arise in the process of studying. So if the student is not able to tackle the chapters assigned for the test, he or she might have to then take help or think of other ways, maybe ask the teacher or ask a friend to explain certain concepts or spend more time to grasp the concept so that he or she can understand it better. So all of this will be done to meet the goals, which is to give the test properly. Now, according to the PASS model, all these PASS processes operate on a particular base of knowledge that we all acquire. And this acquiring of knowledge is done in two ways, either formally, that is through reading, writing, or by experimenting, or informally by what we learn from the environment. So we can learn things in various ways, and whatever we therefore learn forms the knowledge base upon which these past processes operate. So these processes are all interactive, they are dynamic, they keep on changing, and yet each of these past processes has its own distinctive function. So, to just give a kind of a recap of the past processes, the planning process, it involves cognitive control, knowledge, intentionality, and self regulation. Attentional processes, they allow for focused cognitive ability. The simultaneous processing helps us to perceive stimuli as a whole, or let's say understanding basic grammatical statements which require integration of the words into a sentence or into a meaningful idea, and successive processing, which involves operating on stimuli which are arranged in a sequence in order to make a decision. Now, based on the PASS model, a particular test, which is called the cognitive assessment system, has been developed. It is a battery of tests, which means it includes many different types of subtests. It consists of verbal tests as well as non-verbal tests, which measure basic cognitive functions, which are presumed to be independent of schooling. So, which means even if a person is not going to any formal school, the person would be able to be assessed for his intellectual potential by using the cognitive assessment system. And it is meant for the age group of 5 to 18 years, and it takes around 1 hour to administer. The results of this particular test or this assessment can be used to remedy or to help the person who is having certain cognitive deficits, specifically of children who are having certain learning problems. So thanks for watching today's video, and do like, share and subscribe to my channel Psychology with Dipali, and follow me on Instagram also. So till I see you again, it's all from my end, and see you very soon.